Hello, this is Eric with Ben's Brick Store again. I wanted to film another Bricklink tutorial, this time going over the wanted list feature, which you can find up here. You do have to be logged into Bricklink to utilize this, so you may have to create an account if you don't already have one. But basically, if you click on the wanted list here, it'll take you into all your wanted lists. You can create as many as you need to. There's a default wanted list to start with. So if you know the item number you're looking for, you can type it into the search up here. You can also just navigate from the main page to the different categories. So say I'm looking for 2x4 brick, go down to the brick category. Here's 2x4 brick. And you can either pick the color that you want up front. It's good to click on known, because then it'll show you which colors actually exist in that part type. And then you can click, let's say lime, and you'll see all the average prices. I right now have this filtered to only show current prices, current items for sale in the US. You can't filter the last 6 months data, but you can filter the current average. You do that by going up into your settings here under My BL, and then you look for price guide settings. So right now I have this filtered to just show me the US. In most cases I don't really, the international market isn't as relevant, so it's nice to see what it's selling for in the US. But then you click add to my wanted list. You can select new or used. You can change the color here as well. You won't be able to see the drop down menu on the video, unfortunately, but one option on here at the top of the list that can be useful is not applicable. Anytime you're building something where parts are on the interior, like say the frame of a building, something like that, where you're just not going to see them once the build is done. If you change the color to not applicable, you can then the wanted list system will search for whatever the cheapest color that a seller has in stock, as opposed to a color that's more popular and is going to cost more. So it can be a useful thing, but sticking with lime for now. So you can adjust your quantity, you can set a maximum price. I'm going to use 8 cents. I think that's the current average for this color. You don't have to set a maximum price if you don't want to, but it will help limit the wanted list to only find stores that have it for that price. You can put in a remark if there's any notes you want to have, say for if it is to replace an item from a specific set, I might put the set number in there. And then you can also select whether or not you want to be notified when a seller lists this item. I would not recommend that for something common like this, but if you have a rare item or an old vintage set that you're looking for, maybe you're waiting for someone to list one for a slightly cheaper price, maybe the prices are too high. So if you put a maximum price and then say that you want to be notified, it'll only notify you when somebody lists it within that price range. Now we can also either stick with the default wanted list, or we can click on the create new wanted list, and then you can add a new wanted list. Let's say bricks, and that will just create a new wanted list for this to go into, and then hit add to wanted list. Okay, now if you refresh the screen, you'll see that there's one of these parts on your list. Now I'm going to go and pick another color here. Let's just go with green. So I want green and I want some lime. So I'm going to go back to add to my wanted list. I want this in the same bricks wanted list. maybe these ones I want to have in new condition, and let's say I want 5 of them. Not going to worry about the maximum price. Maybe you want to be notified by email on this one. Add the wanted list. Okay. Now, if I refresh again, you'll see there's now 2 of these items on your wanted list. If I click on that, here's what the wanted list actually looks like. There's a whole bunch of filter options up here, which get very helpful if you have a lot of items. One thing that's especially helpful is the hide items if have quantity is greater than or equal to wanted quantity. So what that will do, once I find some of my items on my wanted list, you can click on this and mark that you have it, and then save the changes. So you want one and you happen to have one. Now if you click this checkbox and then hit the search, it'll remove that from the list. Obviously, waste of time if there's only 2 items on your list, but when you have hundreds, it can be really helpful. Now, undoing that. There's also a category breakdown up here, which will show any categories that are on the list. I'm gonna go back to 0 on that. Now, let's try adding another item. Just some 1x1 bricks. Maybe I want dark turquoise. Gonna put it in the bricks list here. Let's say 10. Add the wanted list. I'm just trying to get a little bit of variety here. And maybe we want some dark blue. 15 bricks, and add to list. Okay, now you can also find that wanted list up here. Just go to wanted list, and here's all of your wanted lists. So we'll click on bricks. Also up here, you can upload a wanted list. You have to have one of these file types. You can also upload it in XML format. I'm not going to get into any other things on there right now. But going back to the wanted list, if we go into bricks, and if you don't see all those filter options, you just have to click more options here. Now, let's say you messed up something here. There's some options up here. Let's say you had something in the wrong wanted list. You can hit move. You might not be able to see this pop up, but it'll let you move it to other wanted lists. So I'm going to just move that to the default wanted list. And it's disappeared. So now, if I want to move it back, I can just go back to my wanted list. I can go into the default list and I can move it back. Or maybe in this case, maybe I want it on both, so you can hit copy and copy it to the other list. And now it should be on both. One thing to also mention is kind of a flaw in the system. It doesn't let you move or copy something if it already exists in any quantity on that other list. So if I want to add these 15 bricks to that other wanted list that already has some dark blue brick 1x1 bricks, if I try to move it to that other list, it's going to give me an error message. I don't know if you can see that, but it says in an orange box that pops up at the top of the screen, wanted item / color combination already exists. So you kind of have to open both lists side by side and figure out what thing is triggering that, and make sure you're not copying items that are already there. It's kind of annoying but that's the way it works. Now you can also change color. I didn't have it selected. You can change color. You can toggle condition. This would be useful if you wanted to do all of them at once. You can just toggle it to new or used condition, and it just changes all of them. Or I can toggle it back to any. You can set max prices. You can set prices to the price guide. There's some different options for last 6 months or currently for sale. And then average price, quantity average price, minimum price, or maximum price. And you can also increase or decrease by either a dollar amount or a percentage. So those can be handy sometimes. Or you can also just edit one at a time if you want to, etc. And you can also toggle on or off the notifications. And then just save changes when you're done. And now, once you have a list together, there are a couple things that you can do for buying from that wanted list. One thing is, if you're on this main screen, you can hit the Easy Buy button. I don't know if that pop-up will show up, but the Easy Buy, I would not recommend using it. It doesn't give you very many, it doesn't really give you any options for sorting or filtering or anything like that. So it's not necessarily going to show you the most optimal store to purchase from. But it does sometimes let you get everything from fewer stores. So you would just click on that, and then you can create the cart if you want to, but I don't recommend using that. There's a much better option. So if I go back into the Bricks wanted list, you can just hit the buy all green box on here. You can also select certain ones that you want to buy, and then it will let you just buy, in this case, buy 3 selected. But let's stick with all of them. I don't actually need it checked off if I want to buy all. The other thing is that if you do mark that you have some of these, like say I have 5 of these dark turquoise bricks, and I only need 5 more, and then I need the other items. When you hit buy all, it's only going to look for 5 of those bricks. It's only going to look for what you still need. So when you hit buy all, it's going to show you a list of stores. You might have to expand the filter here. You can select whether you want it in a specific country, the region, or anywhere worldwide. You can also select the currency, whether the store accepts instant checkout versus having to request an invoice. And then you can also filter out stores that you've marked that you dislike, stores that just don't ship to you. That's especially useful. There's no sense in looking at a store that isn't going to ship to you. Now, if it's, in some cases, if there's something really rare and the only store that has it is a store that doesn't ship to you, then I would suggest reaching out to them and asking if they can make an exception. And they might or they might not. If you're a brand new buyer, they might be more reluctant to work with you until you've built up some feedback on the platform. But in most cases, it's just easier to say to exclude stores that don't ship to your location. Now, you can also select to exclude stores with lots below the wanted quantity. That means, so when you wanted, we wanted 15 dark blue 1x1 bricks. If you select this, it won't show you any stores that have less than those 15 bricks. If you want to buy all of that item from one place. And then you can also exclude stores that are over your maximum price. And sometimes I toggle these on or off because those are less critical. So I like to see whether I'm getting cheaper options having these checked off or cheaper options if they're not checked off. And then you can also show your favorited stores first and stores that you have coupons with first. And then you can also change how it's sorted. Unique lots, item count, minimum buy, store name, or feedback score. But then if you hit auto select, it will suggest stores for you based on Bricklink will select a recommended combination of stores that can complete your wanted list at an optimal total price, including shipping cost. Shipping cost will be estimated based on each store's recent similar orders or average data of nearby stores. Now, on this pop-up, there's also an option for select stores when item price is lower than store minimum buy. So if the store, say they have a minimum buy of, like I see this one up here has a minimum buy of $3. If you have this box checked, then it will select stores even if you're not meeting that $3 minimum buy, which could be a problem. For me, it's often not a problem because I'll just look within that store and see what else they have and see if I can get over their minimum. But if you don't think you're going to be able to, like, some stores have, I've seen stores that have $100 minimum buy. And if you're only buying a few dollars worth of items, then you probably don't want to attempt to get over their minimum. But most stores, if they have a minimum at all, it's generally pretty low. So it's not hard to get over. You can add a couple extra pieces or a minifigure or something and you get over that minimum. I usually leave that checked, but it's up to you. And then you hit start. And since we are only looking for 4 items, this goes really quick. If you have a long list, it will take longer. It can take up to several minutes if there's a lot of items. And it's actually suggesting that same store as before when we did the easy buy. You can click edit, and then you can see the list, and you'll see all their prices. You can adjust the quantities you're buying, things like that. Yeah, they happen to have a minimum buy of $1, but it's $1.39 worth of parts. So we're all set. And then you just hit confirm selection. That will save any changes. And then if you're happy with the selection, you just hit create carts. So we'll create the cart, and then you can either go to checkout straight from here, or you can also view your carts up here. As I said in the previous video, I would always recommend visiting the actual store page before I even create the cart. I usually visit the store page. I'll check their store terms. I'll check their feedback. Then we just can go in to view the cart, and we can proceed through the checkout process. We just don't know the shipping yet at this stage. But I'm not going to go any further with that. The other really useful way to shop from a wanted list, once you've created your wanted list, is you can go into a specific store. So when I go back to bensbrickstore.com, if you click on Bricklink here, that takes you into our store page. Now, you can go to the shop tab, and then you can click wanted list. And it's going to show all of your wanted lists on the left-hand side here. Click on all filters. And this is where this comes in handy. You can hide items if have quantity is greater than or equal to wanted quantity. Okay, so if we go back to our wanted list on this other tab, let's say we had found all 5 of the green bricks in our collection, or we already ordered them, or whatever. So we've marked that we have it. Now when you go back in here, if I hit the refresh, all filters, check that box, the ones that you already have will disappear from the list. You can also toggle off this to only show specific lists. And you can also see how right now it shows that you want 15 of the blue 1x1, the dark blue 1x1 bricks. If you have both of these lists on, then it'll show 30. And you can also view which wanted list it's in. Now, so let's just shop from this list for the time being. So we have these 3 items. So you can hit, and we do happen to have them all in stock. You can hit autofill minimum, and it will add. It hasn't added anything to the cart yet, but it's added it to the page here. This just saves you some time, especially if it's a long list. And then you would just hit add items to cart. Now, if you change your mind, you don't want to do that, you just hit turn minimum off, and it deletes those from those fields. Now, if you do max, that adds the maximum that the seller has in stock. So that's probably not as useful. But let's go back to the min, and then add items to cart, and then you would view cart and go through the checkout. Something else to point out about the checkout screen here is we actually haven't canceled the order yet from the previous video where I demonstrated how to place an order on Bricklink. So because that order hasn't been paid yet, you can see on the order summary, order batch number 2. This order batch will be added to existing order number 257-73817. Existing order $10.31. This order batch $197. And then it shows the shipping and handling. Of course, if it's a local pickup order, then you won't have to pay shipping. So what this is doing is Bricklink has a system where so long as you haven't paid for the order yet, if it's just a request an invoice type order, you can add multiple batches to that order prior to payment. So it's really useful if you forget something, or if you're still trying to build your cart, or you're still trying to figure out items that you need. It's generally not recommended to leave an unpaid cart for more than a few days, or a week at most, but you need to also pay attention to what the seller's store terms are. Some sellers don't mind it at all. Some sellers don't like it or don't allow for it. Some sellers will cancel your order after a certain number of days. And then generally, if it's been over a week, there's a thing called a non-paying buyer, the status that the seller might initiate for that order if you haven't taken steps to explain to them that you're hoping to add to the order and things like that. Most sellers, if you say, hey, I still want to keep adding things to the order, is it okay to hold the order in an open status? Most sellers are fine with that, but it's good to keep the seller informed. Just let them know what your intentions are, and that you haven't just completely forgotten about it. Things like that. So just work with the seller, and they'll work with you. So in any case, if we were to proceed through the checkout, it would just add this to the existing order, and we'd select local pickup if you're nearby, and you can see it's just gonna add that. It's also gonna add the amount to the coupon that you already had, that we had added before. So it's convenient. Now, if you had already paid for the order previously and you wanted to add something, then it's good to message the seller and say you forgot something, and then a lot of times they'll just what we would do is we just add those items, send you the invoice with 0 for shipping. Again, even if it is something that we have to ship to you, we would just not add any additional shipping, unless it was going to kick the weight limit above the next shipping threshold. Then maybe we'd add that prorated amount. But anyways, going back to the shopping cart, I'm going to empty this cart. Now the next thing that I want to demonstrate about the wanted list is, if you are looking up a specific set, I'm going to use 6085. This was a set that I had gotten when I was probably about 5, and it was pretty much what was responsible for getting me interested in Lego. So let's say I want to add, I can add this whole set to my wanted list, just like before. Maybe I'm going to create a wanted list called Black Monarchs Castle, can't type, create, and we're going to add that. Okay, now if I hit the refresh, there's that set on the list. Now I can do what's called parting out a set to a wanted list. This is useful if you're trying to find all of the parts to a set, or maybe most of the parts to a set. So you can part out the entire set, include the following items. You can select whether or not to include the original box or the instructions. Let's include the instructions. In this case, let's not worry about the original box. There may not even be any available anyways. You can also check this box to part out the minifigures as individual parts. And then we're going to select the Black Monarchs Castle list, and we're going to leave any condition. Now, match minimum wanted quantity with quantity found in item, parentheses item multiplier. So you would leave this at 1 unless you were trying to double everything or something. And you can default the remark, I'll just say 6085. That might be useful if you were planning to add multiple sets to the same list. You could designate this as 6085, and you could designate parts from a different set as something else. Now you might run into trying to use the same list. You might run into problems if it's some of the same items that are duplicating. The system doesn't really tend to like that. Submit for edit. And now you can go through this list and you can adjust these options. You can check whether or not you want notifications for those items, and you can also exclude certain items. So say you knew you already had an abundant supply of black 1x2 bricks, you could exclude the 1x2 bricks from the list, whatever. But that is the entire list of parts from that set. And then the minifigures down here and the instructions. Sometimes there will be alternate items, and you can pick from the alternate items. There's not in this case. And then we just add the wanted list. And view. And there's your list. Now, we'll change to show 100 items. Just like the bricks wanted list before, you can take this list and hit buy all, and it will look for all 132 of these items, not just the first page. So right now we're showing 100. We can hit the buy all at the bottom here too. So now this list is a good example because it's going to have some rarer items, because this is a set from a long time ago. So it's relatively harder to find all of the items for a rare set like that compared to before we had some very common pieces. So I'm going to start out with just keeping it on USA. It's nice to not have to pay international shipping when you can help it. I'll keep disliked stores toggled on, although this account doesn't have any disliked stores yet. And we'll exclude stores that do not ship to us. Now, checking the US dollar box here would be important if you're going outside of the US for sourcing this, but we'll leave it off right now. Now, when you hit auto select, this will take longer than the previous time because it's a much longer list. That didn't actually take that long. So now you can see 653 of 653 were assigned, 100%. Sometimes it might have trouble finding certain things. I bet if we had added the box to the set to this list, it might have had a hard time finding that. You can also see it's going to cost $744 to get all of those parts from these particular stores. And you can go through and check each. Oh, there's the instructions. $40 just for the instructions. That doesn't surprise me. So you can make adjustments here as needed. And if you're happy with it, you hit create carts. It's important to note, the larger your list and the rarer the items, the more stores you're going to end up having to buy from to get everything. And then this isn't really going to be your total, because this doesn't include sales tax and it also doesn't include shipping. So depending on how heavy some of these orders might be, you probably somewhere more in the $800 range. Now, we can also try removing those and toggling on North America. And you're paying more, but it's adding to Canadian stores, and you cut that list of stores you have to order from down to 5 instead of 7. And it'd be a similar result if we went international. Let's see. So there we go, similar price, but now you've cut it down to just 3 stores instead of 5 or 7. So maybe if you went through the next couple of steps, maybe you'd figure out that it's actually cheaper for shipping from 3 international stores than it is from 7 USA stores. Or that could be a complete wash. And again, you want to check each of these stores to make sure there's somebody you truly want to order from. These look like stores with a lot of feedback, so it's probably fairly safe, but it's still good to check. And to read their terms, and especially with international stores, you really want to make sure to read the terms, because there could be different things that apply. The next thing, especially if you are local to us, the best thing to do to start with is going to be, I'm going to refresh this again, but visit our site first. You can see what we have in stock that is on your wanted list, and then you can hopefully get a fair number of the parts from us and not have to pay shipping. And then you would only have to order from other sellers for the remainder. Or in some cases, maybe we can order something in for you, and if you'd rather go that route. So, anyways, go to the filters. We haven't started sourcing any of these parts yet, so there's no sense in checking this off. But you can go through here and take a look and add things individually, or you can just do that minimum autofill min and just add those items to the cart and go through the checkout from there. One last thing that can be useful is from your order page. If you go into the order details, this is the order from the previous video. There's an option down here where I didn't think to show this before, but you can hit add order items to my wanted list. This will pop something up. I'm not sure if this will be visible on the video, but these weren't on a wanted list, so it's irrelevant. But you can add the items from the order to the wanted list, and it will automatically update the quantities in that wanted list with those items. So if you had these 24 light bluish gray bricks in your wanted list and you just ordered it, if you apply them to that wanted list, then it'll just automatically update that for you, and you don't have to go and manually edit it. The other thing that you can do is from this page, if you've gone into your settings, you have to go to Customize Display, and you can add in items in order on my wanted list icon. Save settings, and go back to my order page, and that will add this little scroll-like icon. And when you click on that, it'll show you items that are found in that order number. And in this case, there weren't any items in that order number that were on a wanted list, so it's not going to show anything. You can also just filter any order number in here manually too, but it's really quite handy to have that little icon right there. So anyways, let's see, add items to cart, and that would be 87 lots worth of that set, and there was what, 100 and you can go back to the wanted list right up here too, but yeah, so there's 132 items. So in this case, you'd be getting 87 of those from us. And another thing is, if you're ever looking for items that we don't have, and you're trying to, if anybody ever needs a recommendation, we've ordered from we've placed over 400 Bricklink orders, so I'd be happy to recommend other stores to you as well. There's a lot of stores that we've worked with that are very reputable, and we'd be happy to refer you to them. But that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if there's anything I missed, and also I'd be interested to hear if anybody has suggestions for future tutorial topics. And thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.